Hello, my dear students. A very good morning to all of you. Today we are here to revise the chapter 3 of Business Economics CA Foundation. Let us concentrate nicely and let us finish this revision today. Theory of production and cost has two units inside the chapter, and one is theory of production, second one is theory of cost. From the examination point of view, both are very important. Very important. There are some concepts which have been explained in the class, and I believe that everybody has followed those concepts. And now we are just trying to get more clarity and revise whatever that we have studied so that we can discuss on these topics with more ease. And ease can only come when you revise the topics regularly. And this is just a help for all of you to revise the topics. Yes, I see a lot of people joining in. Good morning to all of you. Let us start with our discussion for today. And our discussion for today is chapter 3. And we are going to be, of course, starting with the first unit, that is theory of production. Theory of. Now, the question comes in front of us. What do you mean by theory of production? What is the meaning of the word production? Production का मतलब क्या होता है? We have learned in our class, we have discussed a lot of definitions, and at the end of the day, we came to a conclusion that production means creating utility. Correct? There are a lot of other examples and definitions which are given. They say production is the organized activity of transforming resources into finished goods in the form of goods and services, and the objective of the production is to satisfy the demand of such transformed resources, etc., etc. There are so many definitions which have been given, but basically it means what? Creation of utilities. See, we have to note that production should not be taken to mean as creation of matter, because according to the fundamental law of science, man cannot create matter. Yes or no? Correct? What a man can do is only create or add utility to the things which already exist in nature. Whatever that we produce, we are not creating something. We are just adding something, or we are improvising on something. We cannot create. We know that in science we cannot create matter. Yes or no? Correct? So production can also be defined as what? Creation or addition of utility. That is why I said production means what? Creating utility. Now, see, there are various processes to add utility to natural resources for getting greater satisfaction. First is changing the form of the natural resources. We call it as form utility, yes or no? Correct? Which means, see, there are types of changing the utility. First is one word, form utility. What is form utility? Changing the form, changing this. For example, cotton get converted into shirt. Correct? The form is changed from raw material to finished goods. Correct? This is called as what? Form utility. Next, second one, there is something called as the place utility. Now, what is place utility? Place utility. Can anybody tell me? Place, which means, see, look at mining. In mining, what happens? Ore will be there, and this ore will be converted into metal. But ore will be there where? Inside the earth, deep down earth. Yes or no? Correct? Coal, where it will be there? Inside the earth. It will be taken from one place and it will be made metal in another place. This is called as what? Place utility. Next, see, third one, harvesting food grains. Now you see what happens here. Time utility comes into place. Time utility. Now let me tell you what time utility is. Time utility means, for example, You have heard about food grain harvesting, yes or no? The cycle will take around 6 months. Initially, I plant small plants or seeds or anything like that. It will take a substantial amount of time for that particular seeds or plants to give fruits. And when they give that, correct, no, there is a time involved. So this is called as creating time utility. Okay. Then there is something called as personal utility, or personal skill utility. Okay, for example, I am a chartered accountant. I provide services. Yes or no? I do audit. I file your income tax. I do tax audits, etc., etc., etc. Correct? Personal skills in the form of services. This is also creating utility. So there are how many types of utility we learned? Four types. What are those? Form utility, place utility, time utility, and personal utility. Next, see, fundamental purpose of all these activities which we learned, correct, no, is what? Creating utility in some manner. Okay, different manner you can create, but all of them, the final result or final expectation was what? To create utility. Now, next we have to learn something called as factors of production. Factors of production. Factors of production. There are four, yes or no? What are those? There is land, there is labor, there is capital, and there is entrepreneur or organization. Yes or no? Correct. These are called as what? Factors of production. See, this factors of production is also called as inputs for production. Inputs. Correct. If you change the input, what happens? The output also will change. Yes or no? Instead of putting 100 kg raw material, if you put 200 kg, the output will change. Instead of employing 50 employees, if you employ only 10 employees, output will change. Yes or no? Correct. So this inputs, how much you put will be equal to the out. Next, well, let us learn each one of these factors of production in little bit of detail, but I will explain to you briefly because these things are self-explanatory. Correct. First one, land. What do you mean by land? Land in the normal term means what? Normal term means a piece of land which is there, correct? Now, a piece of the earth. But in economics, land has a special meaning. Yes or no? What does that mean? It refers to all the free gifts of nature, which include beside land in common parlance. Okay, all natural resources and all free resources. For example, even soil or fertility of soil is land, even water is land, even sunlight is land, even air, even heat. Yes or no? Correct? All of these things are what? Land only, because they are the free gifts of the nature. Now we have to learn certain characteristics. First one, land is a free gift of nature. Yes or no? Free gift of nature. Sir, do I get land for free? No, Baba. What I meant was you did not create it. Land was already there. Yes or no? Land is a free gift of nature. Okay. Supply of land is fixed. Supply is fixed. You cannot create 1 acre of land. Yes or no? Correct? How much ever is there in the earth's surface, only that much can be used. They're strictly limited to in quantity. Land is permanent, and indestructible. Yes or no? Correct. Land is permanent. Nobody can take away the land. You know that, most of the people like independent houses rather than flats. Why? Something happens tomorrow, some earthquake happens, flat is gone. But land will be there, yes or no? Correct. Land, you cannot take it away. It has indestructible powers. Correct. Land is a passive factor. Passive factor. Which means there is a piece of land. Can it create anything by itself? Is it possible for the land to create something by itself? Answer is no. You have to either plant something in it or you have to build something in it. Land by itself cannot create anything. That is why it is what? A passive factor. Next, land is immobile. Immobile in the sense you cannot take 2 acres from Bangalore and place it in Hyderabad. Not possible. Yes or no? Correct? It cannot move from one place to the other. Next, land has multiple uses. Yeah, multiple uses, definitely. You can do a lot of things in a land, correct? Next, land is heterogeneous. What do you mean by heterogeneous? Which means two pieces of land in two different places will not be the same. Yes or no? Correct? A land in Darjeeling is different. Land in Hyderabad is different. Land in Bangalore is different. Land in Chennai is different. They differ in fertility. They differ in situation. They differ in lot of other factors. Correct? They are heterogeneous, not homogeneous. Okay. Next, these are the characteristics of what? Land. Understood? Can we go forward? Yes. Now, next is what? Labor. Let us talk about the labor. The term labor means any mental or physical exertion directed to produce goods or services. Any physical or mental exertion directed to produce what? Goods and services. Hmm. All human efforts of body or mind undergone partly or wholly with the view to secure an income apart from the pleasure derived directly from the work is termed as labor. In other words, it refers to various types of human efforts with the required use of physical exertion, skills, and intellect. It is, however, difficult to say that any human effort, all the three are not required. The proportion of each might vary. For example, labor to have economic significance, it must be done with the motive of some economic reward. Now, you are feeling sleepy and you tell your mom to prepare coffee for you. Now she goes and prepares coffee. Now, whether it amounts to labor in economics, answer is no. Although she is using all her physical exertion and skill and intellect, but still it is not done for an economic purpose. It's or no, correct? It is done for the sake of pleasure or love, which does not represent labor in economics. It is a reason that the services of a housewife, okay, although we don't treat it as labor, while those of a maid servant, okay, if you have a maid or a servant at home, that is considered as labor because she is doing it for what? Economic consideration. Next, we have to learn about what? Characteristics of labor. Let us learn characteristics. Characteristics. First one, it requires human effort. Of course, when we say labor, it definitely requires what? Human effort. Second one, labor is perishable. Perishable means imagine that you go to work every day and one day you had fever and you couldn't go to work. Now for that one day you're not getting paid. Yes or no? Correct? Now you might say, sir, next day I will work overtime and I'll earn that. No, but that day's loss of 24 hours, whatever is there, it is permanent. It is perished. It is gone. You cannot, undo it. Yes or no? Correct? Now, yes. Next characteristics. Labor is active factor. Understanding labor is what? An active factor. Without the active participation of labor, land and capital may not produce anything. Understanding or no? Correct? Without the active participation of labor, if humans are not there, land is a passive factor. Land will be right there. Yes or no? It is fixed. It cannot by itself cannot prepare anything. Capital, money will be there in the bank. It cannot produce anything by itself. Yes or no? Unless and until a labor or a human factor comes and it works, you cannot do anything. Next, labor is inseparable from laborer, which means labor and laborer, they cannot be separated. Obvious, yes or no? Correct? Now, if I am working as a servant in somebody's house, for what I'm getting paid for the labor that I'm providing. But can I say that I won't come, still I work? Is it possible? It is not possible because labor and laborer are connected, they're together. Okay. Next, labor power differs from laborer to laborer. Yes or no? Correct? Some people are very strong. Yes or no? Now, even labor, the characteristics of human beings are also very heterogeneous in the sense the people do not have the same efficiency or the depth to work. Some people are very mentally strong, some people are very physically strong. Yes or no? Correct? So there is a difference of labor power. Next, all labor, correct, may not be productive. All labor may not be productive. In a sense, see, sometimes we do so many of the things, but at the end of the day, nothing comes to like fruitful. It won't be fruitful. At that time, labor was there, but it was not productive. Big pharmaceutical companies today are, they're spending so much money on labor, on people's intellect to find a vaccine for COVID-19. Tell me, will every one of them find the vaccine? No. Whatever that they have spent, yes, it is labor, but it may not be productive. They might not get the vaccine, or somebody else might get the vaccine. Yes or no? Correct? So all labor may not be productive. Next, labor has poor bargaining power. Poor bargaining power. You have to connect this point with what the second point, that is perishable. Is there no you have to see anything which is perishable, it has poor bargaining power. You go to the evening in the in the market, vegetable will be there, which will get spoiled the next day. So they will give it at any rate. So just like that, a person is there unemployed. You go and tell him that you work for 500 rupees, he will work, because if you give 500 rupees, at least he will have that, or else he will not even have that. So no, poor bargaining power. Because if it doesn't work, there is no money at all. Right? Next, labor is mobile. Is mobile. In the sense, labor you can move. A person from Bangalore can go and work in Delhi. A person can from Delhi can come and work in Chennai. Yes or no? Correct? Labor is mobile. Next, there is no rapid adjustment to supply of labor to the demand of it. In the sense, the total supply of labor cannot be increased or decreased instantly. You want 100 engineers means directly from first year of college you cannot take. Yes or no? You have to wait. Today, the separate type of engineering is becoming famous. It's called as engineering in cybersecurity. Now, all the firms, because of a lot of malware attacks and other things, the companies are hiring cybersecurity experts. Now, where is the supply for these people? There is no supply, yes or no? Correct? There are very less people who have done some kind of course after the engineering, but there is no specific engineering for that purpose, which is just being introduced in the colleges. So, even if you want engineers who are well versed in cybersecurity, you have to wait. It cannot be increased instantly. Yes or no? Correct? Now, choice between hours of labor and hours of leisure. A laborer can make a choice between hours of labor and hours of leisure. This feature gives rise to a peculiar backward bending shape of the supply curve of labor. See, I will tell you how the backward bending works of supply of labor. See, initially, let me just show you the graph, right? Now, this is x-axis. In x-axis, we'll have hours. In y-axis, we have price. Correct? Now, what happens initially, initially, when you put more hours, correct? Now the curve will go like this, and then curve will tilt backwards. Okay, I will tell you why the curve will tilt backwards. Because initially, looking at more money, initially by looking at more money, you will work for more hours. So initially by looking at more money, you will work more hours, but later what happens, for less number of hours you will get paid more because you have experience. That's why it tilt backwards. Okay, I hope that is clear. Going forward, we have a lot of things to cover today. This is one of the biggest chapter, correct, in your business economics subject. Now, let us move towards capital. Let us move towards the capital, that is the third input. Yes or no? Correct? What is capital? What is capital? We may define capital as the part of wealth of an individual or a community which is used for further production of wealth, etc., etc. In fact, capital is a stock concept which yields a periodical income, which is a flow concept. It is necessary to understand the difference between the capital and wealth. Whereas wealth refers to what? All those goods and human qualities which are useful in production and which can be passed on for a value. Only a part of these goods and services can be characterized as capital, because if these resources are lying idle, they will constitute wealth but not capital. Example, you have a lot of jewelry at your home, correct? Now the jewelry is inside the locker, correct? No, it is wealth, it is not capital. Okay, so you cannot say that a lot of money lying in your uh, locker, you cannot call it as capital unless and until it is there in the market which is earning something. Capital has been rightly defined as the produced means of production or man-made instrument of production. In other words, capital refers to all man-made goods that can be used for further production of wealth. This definition distinguishes capital from both land and labor, because both land and labor are not produced factors. Yes or no? Correct? Now, let us look at the types of capital. Okay, there are a lot of types of capital which are there. Okay, first one is fixed capital. Fixed capital, what do you mean by fixed capital? Is what which exists in the durable shape and renders a series of services over a time. For example, tools, machines, etc. Yes or no? You have machinery, you are a tailor, and you have a sewing machine. Yes or no? It's a fixed capital. It gives you return over a period of time, right? Next, circulating capital. Circulating capital is another form of capital which performs its function in production in a single use and is not available for further use. For example, seeds, okay, fuel, raw material. In the sense, you use it once and you take its things, then it is over. Circulating capital, correct? Next, real capital. Real capital means physical goods such as building, plant, machines, etc., etc. I know some of them are fixed capital as well. This is not a differentiating factor. One thing, sometimes they overlap as well. Real capital and fixed capital, they overlap. Okay. Now, human capital means human skill and ability. There is human capital as well. Correct. Next, there is tangible capital. We know what is tangible. Tangible means which can be touched. Intangible means which cannot be touched. For example, patent, goodwill, patent rights, etc., etc. Individual capital means personal property owned by an individual or a group of individuals. Social capital means what belongs to the society. For example, there is roads, bridges, etc., etc. This belongs to the society. Now we have to learn an important factor here. These types are okay, these are easily understood. We have to learn something called as capital formation. Capital formation. Capital formation means what? How your savings will be converted into investment. Okay, there are three steps of capital formation. Can you tell me without me telling? Can you just remember what are the three stages? What are the three stages? Right. First one is what? Savings. Second one, mobilization of savings. Then third one, investment. Yes or no? Correct? Savings, mobilization of savings, and investment. Savings, yes. If I have income of 100 rupees, if I spend 60 rupees, 40 rupees is my savings. And this 40 rupees, I have to mobilize this savings. In the sense, if you put that 40 rupees in the locker, it doesn't constitute capital. You have to put where? In the bank as FD. Okay, I saved how much? 40 rupees. I put in a bank as FD of 40 rupees. Correct? Now, once you put in the bank, correct, as FD, what will the bank give? Bank gives us a loan to a business. Yes or no? Now, this business will buy machinery with that 40 rupees. Of course, for 40 rupees they won't get, but like you, there are so many thousands, lakhs of people who save 40 rupees, right? So business will be able to buy something with it. Now that is called as what? Investment. So there are three steps of forming capital, correct? Now once this capital is formed, it creates what? Further wealth. Yes or no? Correct? Now with the help of this investment, what will the business do? They will do business, they will earn profit, and that profit will be saved, it will be put in locker, wealth will be created, again savings will be there, again mobilization, again investment, etc., etc. Correct? Economy will grow only when the capital is formed. Correct? A little outside the things I will connect. Okay, why government is advertising so much about mutual funds, Sahi hai and all? Why government is asking people to come and invest in mutual funds? Why? Because they know that a lot of people have kept their money where? In the locker. Please come and give that money to the stock market or to the banks for interest. That time capital will be formed, and once the capital is formed, businesses will succeed. That is the strategy. If you have understood it, then you have understood capital in a very nice way. Next, we are going to talk about the fourth factor. And the fourth factor is organization or entrepreneur. Correct? Organization or entrepreneur. See, all the three factors are over. Land is there, labor is there, capital is there, but the one person who is required in order to make all these things work is the person called as what? Entrepreneur. It is not enough to say that the production function of land, labor, and capital alone. There must be some factor which mobilizes these factors and unites these factors, combines them, uses them. Yes or no? Correct? That person is known as a entrepreneur. He's also been called as an organizer, manager, risk taker. There are so many other names to it. But in these days, specialization and separation of ownership and management, the tasks performed by the manager or the organizer have become different from that of entrepreneur. The person who is now called as entrepreneur is the person who bears the risk of the job. That's all. Correct? Who has put his money, effort, time, everything, and who bears the risk is called as a entrepreneur. Now let us see what are the functions. We already know. I'm not going to stress much on it. Functions. First one is initiating the business enterprise and resource coordination. In the sense, he has to initiate. Somebody has to start. Yes or no? Today, if there are so many big companies are there, somebody had to start it, and somebody had to make sure that everything is in place. Business just doesn't create itself. Entrepreneur, he senses the business opportunity. He'll see that, okay, there is something going on over here and there is an opportunity for us to do business. And then he gets ideas, then he does things, right? Next, risk bearing and uncertainty bearing. Okay, should I write it down? Okay, first one is what? Initiating business enterprise. Second one is what? Risk and uncertainty bearing. I have told you the difference between risk and uncertainty, yes or no? Correct? I have definitely told you that. I remember in the previous revision classes, I have told you about it. Now, and now see, only if you take a risk, you will get return. It's as simple as that. The riskless money doesn't exist. Okay. Now, you know that also is taken by whom? The entrepreneur. Sometimes they get huge losses. Example, Vijay Mallya. Yes or no? Correct. Although he's a very good businessman at his point of time, he entered into some businesses which did not give him much profit, and because of that, thousands of crores of loss, and he had to flee the country because he couldn't pay the loan. Correct. There are a lot of things attached to that particular case. I don't want to discuss, but I'm telling you that entrepreneur. There are successful entrepreneurs like Mukesh Ambani, Ratan Tata, and there are unsuccessful, and the people who lost everything are also there. Okay. Next, innovation. Innovation means bringing newness into the business. Right? The true function of the entrepreneur is to introduce innovations. Innovation refers to commercial application of new idea or invention to better the fulfillment of business requirements. Innovation in a very broad sense include the introduction of new or improved products. Yes or no? Correct? Every year we are getting new features in the mobile phones. Yes or no? What is it? Innovation, because people want new things. People get very bored of old things, and this entrepreneur is there. He senses what the people would like in the future, and he innovates. That is one of the function. Next, we have to learn about we have to learn about entrepreneurs objectives objectives and constraints. Okay, objectives means what the entrepreneurs, sorry, enterprise objectives, not entrepreneurs. Enterprise, of course, care. Enterprise is owned by an entrepreneur. Okay, so indirectly they become the objective of entrepreneur as well. Now, what are the enterprise objectives, the company's objectives, and what are its constraints? Correct. Now, anyway, these objectives are divided into five different parts. Objectives are divided into five different parts. Can you remember anything? Can you remember anything? You have to remember. First one is organic objective. Second one is economic objective, then social objective, human objective, and national objective. Let us briefly discuss. We are not going to the depth of it. Definitely not. Okay, because each one of them have a lot of examples in within. Okay, which we have so many times we have discussed in the class. Next, what do you mean by organic objective? Organic objective is to survive and to stay alive. So one, two words means I'll say stay alive. Organic. Your company shouldn't be like you started some business today, but tomorrow it cannot grow, it dies. No, you have to make sure that it survives. Okay, and that is called as surviving. Not only surviving. See, if I tell you that you are going to get a salary of 50,000 today, you'll be very happy. But if I tell you that for the next 10 years you'll get 50,000 only, will you be happy? No. You said definitely, sir. Where is growth? Where is growth? Correct. Even the enterprise requires growth. That is called as organic objective. Correct. Next, economic objective. Economic objective means what? Profit maximization. Okay, profit maximization. See, some people argue between profit maximization, wealth maximization. I'm not going to get into that, but usually companies go for profit maximizing. Correct. In the they like, because profit is why the business has been started in the first, okay, instance, why the profit is important. Now, next is social objective. What is social objective? Social objective means what? See, you as a company, although you have put your company, who are your customers? The general public, and you have some responsibility towards that, correct? No, public. For example, what? Give good products, unadulterated, unadulterated products. In a sense, in butter, don't put dalda. Give pure butter only. Yes or no? Correct. Don't make wrong products. Don't make products which are harmful. Correct. No. Avoid antisocial practices. Avoid the meaningless profiteering. Okay. Avoid that. To create opportunities. Give employment to the public. Yes or no? Do some good things to the environment, because you are polluting air, water, noise, soil, etc., etc. Do some good things. These are all the called as what? Social objective. Next is human objective. What? Human objective means provide employment, provide fair wages, provide fair wages, then improve the skills of the employees. Don't just make them robots. Make their skills grow. Correct. Now make the job interesting, make the job challenging. Correct. There are so many things that you can do for the humans in your. Only when people are interested they'll stay in your company, or else people get bored no matter how much you pay them. If their job is not interesting, not challenging, they will not stay. Next is national objective. What is national objective? uh, National objective is what? You pay your taxes. Yes or no? That is the first one. Remove inequality of opportunity and for provide fair opportunity to all the work and to progress. To reduce, to produce according to national priorities. Correct. No? National priorities have to be there to help the country to become self-reliant. Make in India. Yes or no? Correct. What are we trying to do? We are trying to make sure that India becomes self-reliant, and you have to train young men and women. Correct. Then contribute. Okay, they have to contribute to this skill formation and the economic growth and development. Correct. Now, fairly we have to move to a situation where there is no term called as unskilled labor. Understanding or not? Correct. All labor have to be skilled. That is when economy will definitely progress. Now, these are the objectives. Now, uh, we have to learn about the constraints. Constraints means the challenges, correct? No, which are faced by an enterprise. Okay, there are many, but we will discuss. Let us say 4 to 5. Okay, first one is lack of knowledge and information. See, enterprise functions is an uncertain world where, due to lack of accurate information, many variable that affect the performance of the firm cannot be correctly predicted for the current month or the current year, let alone the future years. Now I'll give you best example now. Okay, as Diwali is approaching, many of the states have banned crackers. Yes or no? Correct. Now, whether the morality argument or any kind of different argument, uh, we will discuss it on a later stage. But please understand that there are many traders, correct, no, who have bought and stocked all the firecrackers. Okay, and because they did not have knowledge or information with regard to what the government was supposed to or able to do, correct, no, because of that, what happened, they are into huge losses now. That's what, correct. So there is lack of knowledge and information. Let me just go through the chat for 20 seconds to understand. uh, Ajit, I do read the live chat, but the thing is, see, I'm streaming from a different software. Because of that, there is a lag. Okay, so I'm going to, like, read it, but not immediately. I will read it whenever I take a small break or something like that. I will read it. Okay. Now, don't worry. If you have any questions, please post. I will answer it. Okay. Now, I guess you understood about lack of knowledge and information. So I'm going to the second point. I'm going to the second point. That is, there may be, uh, like, for example, okay, there may be constraints such as restriction imposed in the public interest by the state on production, price, or movement of factors. I will give you an example. Mobility of labor. Mobility of labor. Sometimes what happens, see, now recently in states, this thing, what parliament, uh, this thing was passed, order was passed saying that around 70 to 75% of the jobs which are state related government jobs will be given to the people in the state itself, correct, and very less will be given to the outsiders. Now what happens, see, there could be a lot of people who are looking for jobs in the other state who are not getting. There is a mobility of labor problem which comes over there. This is because a restriction imposed by the state. Okay, this kind of things do happen. This is another constraint. And this happen in all the states. Okay, the outside states people are coming and working in our state, and our state people are not getting jobs. So in this state, the lot of people come as a union, and they will start doing strikes. They will start vandalizing property and all that, because they are not getting job. And why companies are preferring anybody outside the state? Because they are looking at a cheap availability of labor, correct, rather than paying to the locals in a higher cost. They are looking at a other state people where they can pay a lesser price and get the employment done. But correct, no? There are these kind of constraints which are, some are imposed by the state, some are imposed by the people, correct, no? Some are imposed by the trade unions, etc, 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 correct. There are a lot of things. Next, now there could be infrastructural infra inadequacy. Okay, infrastructural inadequacy. Okay, and see, for example, I will give you, uh, if roads are not proper, correct, if roads are not proper, you cannot reach to that particular place and satisfy their demand. If there are frequent power cuts, you cannot produce. Yes or no? If there is irregular supply of raw materials, or non-availability of proper transport, non-availability of cold storage, there are a lot of things, correct. Do you know that in India, 3 times of the food which is wasted, correct, no, food wasted is equal to 3 times of the food which is actually required to feed the poor and the needy. Okay, because there is a lack of cold storage facility and lack of a lot of things. Okay, and because of that, food is wasted. Okay, we can understand. Next, there is changes in business and economic conditions which become contagious due to highly connected nature of economies, place constraints by causing demand fluctuation and instability. So basically, what we are saying is sudden government change of policy. Suddenly, government comes up and says that no, you have to pay more tax. Correct? What happens? The constraint. Some firms are very sensitive to the tax rate, interest rate, etc., etc. They will start making losses. There is a legal, there is a regulatory, there is contractual, there is fiscal. There are so many other aspects to it. Okay, which we need not go in depth now. Okay, but although all these things will be discussed in much higher detail in your CA Inter paper 8 part 2, that is economics for finance. There we are going to discuss all these things in a very much depth. Okay, but for foundation level, you just have to know that these problems exist, right? Next, events such as inflation, correct, and rising interest rates, correct, and unfavorable exchange rate, rupees falling, dollar is rising, correct. All these things are the constraints. Understanding or not? Correct. Now we learned about the objectives and the constraints. Now let us learn about the entrepreneur's problems. Entrepreneurs problems. Now, see, there are a lot of problems faced by an entrepreneur. Okay, a lot of problems faced by everyone, correct? But you have to understand that entrepreneur faces different kinds of problems. First, let us understand problems relating to objectives. See, objective problem. What do you mean by objective problem? Let me tell you. An enterprise, functions for economic, social, political, cultural environment. Therefore, it has to set objective in relation to the environment. The problem is that these objectives are multifarious and very often conflict with each other. For example, the objective of maximizing profits in conflict with the object of increasing market share, which is generally involves improving quality, slashing the price, etc., etc. See, imagine of a hospital, correct? Now, what is your objective? There is a social objective of making a healthy state, right? And there is a economic objective of making profit. But for you to make profit, there should be patience. Yes or no? Correct. So tell me, what do I do? These objectives are conflicting with each other. Yes or no? Correct. So sometimes problems are about choosing the objective. Which side to choose? Should I go with my economic objective and make everybody sick? Or should I go with my social objective and make everybody healthy? I'm a hospital. You tell me, right? This is a problem related to objective. Next, problem related to location and size of the plant. Say sometimes I will start a small plant in somewhere in the remote village, but when I improve the plant size, correct, I have to go to a bigger city. I have to relocate. There are a lot of expenses which are involved, etc., etc. Where to start? How big the firm has to be? This is a very big decision, right? If you make the firm too big, there might not be demand, etc., etc., right? Then problem relating to selecting and organizing physical facilities. Okay, now this is readable and understandable. Next, problem related to finance, where to get the money from, right? You said that we need 10 crore rupees to make an investment, where to get the money from, right? Next, problem relating to organization structure. Okay, organization structure means what? There has to be proper way of accountability, in the sense who is accountable to whom, who is the here executive, above him senior executive, above him assistant manager, above him manager, then senior manager, then assistant general manager, then general manager, then director, then CEO. Yes or no? Correct. There has to be proper organization structure. But if there is no organization structure properly, then there will be chaos, right? Now that is another problem. Then problems relating to marketing. Marketing means four pieces of marketing. What are those? Product, promotion, price, and place. That is things that we have to read upon. We'll understand. Problem relating to legal formalities. Yes or no? Our legal system we already know, correct? It is very slow, yet correct, no? By the time it becomes effective, it may not be an efficient option for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? problem relating to industrial relation, correct? Trade unions, etc., misunderstandings, etc. Correct? We have to deal with it. Now, these are the problems which are faced by the entrepreneur. Next, we have to learn something called as production function. We have to learn something called as production function. Now tell me, don't be tired. You're ready, right? You're ready. Let us, you know, uh, continue. Let us continue learning more. Production function means what? Production function means output is equal to function of all inputs. That's all it is. If I assume Q stands for the output, then Q is nothing but the function of all the inputs. Inputs I will name it as A, B, C, D to N. Right? This is called as production function. Now, the relationship between the maximum amount of output that can be produced and the input required to make that output, it is defined as the given state of technology. That is the maximum amount of output that can be produced with the given quantities of input under a given state of technical knowledge. It can also be defined as the minimum quantity of various inputs that are required to yield a given quantity of output. So basically, all these definitions are saying only one thing, that output is equal to function of inputs. Okay, only you remember that, that's more than enough. Next, you see, production function can be learned in short term as well as long term. Yes or no? Correct? Production function can be learned in short term or in the long term. It should be noted that the distinction between the short run and the long run is not related to any particular measurement of time. No. We are not talking about days, months, years. No. We are talking about the extent to which a firm can vary the amount of inputs in the production process. A period will be considered a short run if the amount of at least one of the inputs used remains unchanged. In the sense, short run and long run production function. What is the difference? In short run, at least one input of production will be constant. In long run, all the inputs of production will be variable. Understood? Correct? And that is how the production function works. Next, there is Cobb-Douglas production function. Please, go through it yourself. It's just a one paragraph. Okay. Then we have to learn about short-run production function. A short-run production function, I'm going to just take the graph and I'm going to explain it to you. Okay, because we already know the meaning of total product, average product, and marginal product. Total product means, see, in our example, in a classroom example, we had learned that in short term, there was only one machinery. Yes or no? Machinery was one. The labor was increasing from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes or no? One factor of production, that is machinery, was constant. Other factor, that is labor, was variable. And because of that, we did the total product, then average product, and marginal product. Correct? Now, average product is what? Total product divided by number of labor. Correct? What is marginal product? TPN minus TPN minus 1. Yes or no? TPN minus TPN minus 1. Correct? Now, we have to learn that after all that hard work of preparing a big table, we came to this graph. Let me just draw the graph for you, quickly explain what's going on, right? So this is total product, correct? Now this is average product, and this is marginal product, correct? What is the relationship? What is the relationship? The relationship between these curves, please remember. Okay, when the average product is rising. When average product is rising, marginal product is above the average product. When average product is highest, marginal product is equal to average product. Yes or no? When average product is falling, marginal product is below the average product. Yes or no? Correct. And we learned about a point. Point, we call it as point of inflection. See, I'm not going to go into the depth of it because we do not have time, and you already know this. And we said that there are three stages. Yes or no? What are the three stages? There is a stage 1, there is a stage 2, and stage 3. We call it a stage of increasing return. Yes, the stage of diminishing returns, and the stage of negative returns. Yes or no? Correct. Now, what do you mean by point of inflection? This is one of the favorite question of the examiner. What do you mean by point of inflection? Point of inflection is that point where the total product stops increasing at increasing rate and starts increasing at decreasing rate. You remember, we have done this tongue twister. It stops increasing at increasing rate and starts increasing at decreasing rate. Okay, if you don't understand, hear it again. Right now, based on that, we had made three stages. Like one stage over here, right? Second stage over here, and third stage over here. I will write it. This is stage 1, this is stage 2, this is stage 3. This is stage of increasing returns. This is second one is stage of what? Diminishing returns. Third one is negative returns. Yes or no? Correct? And all these explanations have been given in the class. You have to, like, read. Okay, just read the notes. Okay, and you will understand what exactly it is. And if you have any doubts, please ask me. Right? This is in short term or long term? It is in short term. Yes or no? Now, what happens to long term? Short term is also called as short term. Other names are what? Variable proportions. Variable proportions. Yes or no? Next, long term. We call it as returns to scale. What is the difference between short term and long term? Multiple choice questions. See, I'm concentrating only on those things which are very important for your examination purpose. Huh? Now tell me, what do you mean by returns to scale or long term? Where all the inputs of production are variable. Yes or no? Correct? In that case, also there are three stages. What is there? There is constant return to scale, there is increasing return to scale, and there is decreasing returns to scale. Correct? Now, this is with regard to short term and long term. Now, there is something called as a small concept called as production optimization. And for that, I have to tell you about two lines. One is called as isocont, second one is isocost. Yes or no? Correct? Now, what do you mean by isocont and isocost? Just like we had learned the concept of indifference curve. Do you remember? We learned something called as indifference curve in where? In chapter 2, unit 2. Yes or no? Correct? And in that, we had learned that there are many indifference curves. And then there was one line, what that was called as budget line. Do you remember? That's exactly applied in production. We are going to learn that now. That is called as production optimization. See, when I say isocont, they are very similar to indifference curve and the theory of consumer behavior. And isocont refers to all those combinations of inputs which are capable of producing the same level of output. What did I say? Isocont represents all those combination of inputs which are capable of producing same level of output. Remember, there in indifference curve, we had combination of two products which will give me same level of satisfaction. Yes or no? Correct. Here we have combination of two inputs, which gives me same level of output. Okay. So here also we are going to do the combination of input and how much is the same output. Okay. Now one difference between indifference curve and isocost. What is the difference? In indifference curve, the level of satisfaction was the same. Yes or no? Correct. Now the satisfaction, is it measurable? It is not measurable. But here output is definitely measurable. Now that is the difference between indifference curves and production optimization. Now based on that itself, we made a lot of isocont and isocost lines, and same conclusion that if it is running tangent to any of the budget line, okay, then we will definitely go for that, right? If I have to show you in the graph, this is my isocont line, correct? And this is my isocost lines, correct? Remember, one more difference between indifference curve and production optimization. What? In indifference curve, we had one budget line and many indifference curves. But here it is opposite. We have one isocont line and many isocost lines. Okay, right? Now it depends upon how much money you have. If you have more money, you can invest and you can increase your output. Okay, but this point over here, it is the least cost combination. Least cost combination, correct? So when you are studying, correct, now this production optimization, you have to keep indifference curve and production optimization together, and we have to revise. Okay, that time you will get 100% clarity. Okay, I hope there it is. Now with this we finished what? The theory of production. Now next we have to go to the what? Theory of cost. I will come to that just after 2 minutes. Okay, coming to the second unit, and the second unit is theory of cost. Theory of cost, very simple. Okay, unit. Okay, nothing heavy as compared to the previous unit. Okay, first we have to learn about cost concepts. Cost concept. In that, there is a difference of accounting cost and economic cost. Remembering implicit, explicit cost. Right? Explicit cost is the cost which is paid to the outsider, where implicit cost is the cost which should have or would have been paid to the entrepreneur. Yes or no? Correct? For example, entrepreneur works day and night, but he doesn't take salary. Now that salary which he would have earned if he had worked the same way in some other company is called as implicit cost. Yes or no? Correct? or it can also be called as opportunity cost. Outlay cost and opportunity cost. Outlay means which is paid to the outsiders. Opportunity means the opportunity lost, the cost of opportunity what is lost. Next, there is direct or traceable cost and indirect and non-traceable cost. Direct and traceable cost. For example, if you look at coffee, you can tell how much milk is put in there. Yes or no? Correct? Is a direct traceable cost. But if you look at, let us say, a car, okay, if you look at a car, and if you ask me a question, how much of, let us say, lubricants or grease is used in producing this car, it is impossible to trace. Yes or no? Correct. So you compare those two things. Okay, one which is directly traceable and second one is not directly traceable at all. Then there is incremental cost and sunk cost. Incremental cost means the cost which is incurred incrementally, additionally. Okay, additional cost, okay, which is incurred. Where sunk cost is the cost which is already sunk or already expensed out, about which we will not be thinking again, right? Historical cost and replacement cost. Historical cost means, what does that mean? The cost which is spent long back, right? Historical. Replacement cost means cost of replacing a particular item. Next, private cost and social cost. Yes, fixed and variable cost. We have also learned about this. So these basic differences we shouldn't be spending much time on, right? Now we have to understand how does cost functions. What do you mean by cost function? Cost function refers to the mathematical relationship between cost of a product and the various determinants of cost. In a cost function, the dependent variable is one unit cost, or the total cost of the independent variables are the price of a factor, the size of the output, or any other relevant phenomenon which has a bearing on a cost. Okay. Now, basically, we are going to learn the cost in short run as well as long run. Okay. Now, tell me, independently, if you talk about independent, okay, examination, fixed cost looks something like this. Yes or no? If this is number of units and this is cost, no matter what the number of units are, fixed cost will remain same. Correct? How does variable cost look like? Everybody tell me. Variable cost, this is units, this is price. Variable cost will look like this. Yes or no? Correct? Upward going. Why? Because variable cost will increase as the number of output or number of units increase. Next, there is uh, we have to look at something called as average cost. Okay, let us look at average cost. Now, average cost means how does average fixed cost will look like? Average fixed cost will look like this. Why? See, fixed cost will remain same. For example, 10,000. If I'm producing only one product, the fixed cost average is how much? 10,000 divided by 1, that is 10,000. If I produce two products, output increases. X-axis is what? Output increases. 10,000 divided by 2, that will become 5,000, right? Then if I increase the production to 3, then what happens? 10,000 divided by 3, that is 3,333.33. Yes or no? If I produce 4, 10,000 divided by 4, it will be 2,000. So what's happening here? As the number of units increases, total fixed cost will remain same, but average fixed cost will keep dropping, right? Next, if you look at output, price, if you look at average variable cost. Now, average variable cost, what happens? What happens to average variable cost? See, first it will come down, then it will go up. I'll tell you why. First it will come down and then it will go up. Correct? In the classroom, we have had example. Yes or no? What? Ice cream manufacturing. Yes or no? Correct? Those who have attended my class, they definitely know about this particular example. And in that, we had shown how initially, because you added one or two labors, 3 or 4 labors, what happened? Your cost came down. But later, when you add more and more people, what happened? The cost will shoot up. Yes or no? Correct? Because there are a lot of people becoming inefficient. There is no work. You are paying a lot, but money isn't coming in. Next, there is a marginal cost concept, which is pretty simple. Marginal cost means what? total cost TCN minus TCN minus 1. That's all it is. Okay. So this is with relation to in short run. Okay. How does the so let me draw. Okay. All those costs together. Okay. Average cost together. I will make a graph over here. Everybody remember, you will be able to appreciate the class much more faster only when you have also done your revision, huh? Because in 1 hour it is not possible for us to cover each and every small technicality. You have to make sure that your efforts are in par with our efforts, right? Now, although if you have any doubts, we are happy to answer. Fixed cost always comes down. Yes, average fixed cost, sorry. Average fixed cost. Next, average variable cost. Average variable cost, right? This is average variable cost. Then next, there is average total cost, right? Total cost will first come down and then go up because variable cost is taking it up. Yes or no? Correct. And there is marginal cost. What is there? Marginal cost. Now here also there is a relationship between average variable cost and marginal cost. What is the relationship? Same. When average variable cost is dropping, marginal cost is below the average variable cost. When average variable cost is lowest, marginal cost is equal to average variable cost. When average variable cost is rising, marginal cost is above the average variable cost. Correct? This difference. This difference, yes, if you have revised or if you have gone through, then you will definitely get it when I'm telling what it is. Right? This is in short term. Now we have to discuss in long term. In long term, what happens, sir? Okay, how does this work in long term? See, long term is a period of time, which means a firm can vary all of its inputs, which means all the inputs are variable. Unlike short run, in which one of the input at least will be what? Fixed. In other words, whereas in short run, the firm is tied with the given plant. In the long run, the firm can build any size or scale of plant and therefore can move from one plant to another. Okay. Now, to understand how does the long run average cost curve is derived, we consider that three short run average cost curves. Okay, we have to draw. Now, let me draw the graph and I will explain it to you further. Okay. Now see, these are the graphs which will be usually asked in the examination. So concentrate, right? So I will draw three short run average cost. In short run, what happens? First it will come down. First the total cost will come down and then it will go up. Yes or no? Correct? That's what I'm going to do. First it will come up, come down, then it will go up. Same way. This is, I will name it as SAC. Oh no, let me just draw it a little differently, right? Yeah. This is SAC 1. This is SAC2. This is SAC3. Okay. I drew what? 3. Now I will draw, certain lines and we'll discuss about it. Okay. Now let me name it as A, B, C, D, E, E, and F. Now look at point A and B. Look at point A and B. What is x-axis? X-axis is what? Output. And y-axis is what? Cost. Yes. Now to receive, let us say output of O1. There are two options with you. One, you can work with one plant at the cost here, or you can work with two plants, the cost here. Tell me which is more costlier? Having two plants is more costlier. Yes or no? Correct. So you have to go for one plant or two plants. You have to go for one plant. Look at point C, which is output 2. Okay. At output 2 at point C, whether you have one or two, it doesn't matter. Yes or no? Correct. Look at O3. O3 is over here where point D and point E. If you have one plant, you will spend how much? This much, right? Over here, this point. Where if you have two plants, your spending will be less. Correct. So which is more beneficial? Having two plants. Just like that, see point F. If you want output of O4, then whether you have two plants or whether you have three plants, it doesn't matter. Correct. You are at the indifference point. Now this is how you learn. Correct. The short run average cost curve. Okay. And comparatively, okay, how many plants to put up? Okay, that is you're slowly going into the learning of what? Long run. Okay. In long run, how does it look like? In long run, it looks something like this. If you make a graph, if you make a graph, I will draw many short run average cost curves, and I will draw one giving blanket to all. Correct. Now see, this is nothing but SAC1, SAC2, SAC3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Correct. And this line which is covering everybody, no? Correct. I will draw it in a different ink also. This yellow line which is covering all the short run, we call it as long run average cost. Okay. Now you might ask me, sir, SAC 1, 2, 3, 4, it is coming down. Then after that 5, 6, 7, it is going up. Why? Why? As and when I put more and more machinery, my cost should come down. No, why it is going up later? Classroom example again. See, this is so much more beneficial. If you have attended the class, you will understand. Now my example was there, yes or no? As the firm grows, what happened? Its control will become costlier and difficult. If you have company all around like 50, 60 countries, you cannot control it like you used to do two or three companies in two or three countries. Yes or no? Correct. Everything will become difficult. Same thing happened to the company Nokia. Yes or no? Correct. Too much in hand, too much market share, too many countries are demanding. You become inefficient because you cannot control it. That is why companies like Amazon, which are there worldwide, they are trying so hard to put so many ERPs to get the information in time, because they see that their SAC is going up, their average cost is going up. Now, this is with regard to the curve. Now, let me just explain the U shape of the long run average cost curve. LAC is there, no? Why it is on U shape? Let me explain. See, LAC curve is U-shaped. The shape of LAC curve has nothing to do with the U shape of SAC, okay, which is due to the variable factor. See, why does SAC comes down and goes up? Because of the variable factor, yes or no? Correct? One machinery, too many laborers. Understanding? Now, U-shaped LAC arises due to return to scale. As discussed earlier, when the firm expands, the return to scale increases. As the range of constant return to scale, the returns to scale finally decreases. On the same line, LAC curve first declines and then finally rises. Increasing return to scale causes fall in the long run average cost, and decreasing return to scale will, just like that. If the return to scale fall, long run average cost will decrease, and vice versa. We have to look at it from the examples point of view, which I have given, that as the company grows and goes into many like machineries, etc., its control becomes difficult, and because of that the cost will go up. This is the most simplified what to say version of explanation that you can get. Now this LAC is there, no, long run average cost curve, which is also called as envelope curve, because envelope means what, you put all the things, yes or no, correct? So just like that, in LAC is envelope in which you put all SACs. Simple, correct? Envelope curve. And yeah, this is the with regard to the long run average cost curve. Yes. Okay. Now, uh, much more important thing now, correct? And but easier. It's not very technical. We have to learn something called as economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. We'll just have a discussion about it, right? Now, see, production on a large scale is very important feature of modern industrial society. We know that production is a very important feature. As a consequence, the size of the business is greatly increased. The companies which were very small, now they've grown to an extent where they are very big. Yes or no? Correct? Now, when the company grows to a bigger scale, there is advantage, there is disadvantage. Now, the advantage is what can occur, that is called as economies of scale, right? And the disadvantage is what occurs is called as diseconomies of scale. Now, these economies and diseconomies can be internal or can be external, which means when I'm growing in size, correct, a lot of advantage will occur to me and lot of disadvantage also will occur to me, correct? And this advantage and disadvantage can be internal or can be external, right? First, we'll learn about the internal economy and diseconomy. Okay. First, let us talk about the internal this thing, economy and diseconomy. First one, technical economy and diseconomies. Okay. First, we'll talk about internal, and in internal, we'll talk about the first one. What is it? Technical. Technical economies and diseconomies. Correct. What is it? When you grow in size, you will use superior techniques. Yes or no? Yes or no? Correct. See, uh, if you do not use superior technique, your cost will go up. And if your competitor uses superior technology, his cost will come down and he will drive you out of the market. Yes or no? So always big companies are forward technically. Yes or no? If you look at their ERP, if you look at their research, etc., etc., they're always forward. Why? Because they know if they don't use superior technique, it's very difficult for them to survive. Right now, but understand that beyond a certain point, a firm experiences net diseconomies of scale. This happens because when the firm has reached a size large enough to allow utilization of almost all possibilities of division of labor and employment, of efficient machinery, further increase of size of the plant, etc., etc. Right? When the scale of the operations becomes too large, it becomes difficult for the management to exercise control and bring about proper coordination. It becomes extremely difficult. Okay, so that's because of the diseconomies which will occur technically. Okay, next there is managerial managerial economy and diseconomy, right? It refers to the reduction in managerial cost. When output increases, specialization and division of labor can be applied to the management. In the sense, see, earlier one person was there who was looking into everything, finance, sales, marketing, everything. Now, because the company has become big, you appointed one person for each functions. Now what happens when you do one job for 12 hours every day? You become well versed, and because of it your specialization increases, you become more experienced. That will bring in more advantage. That is managerial economy. What is a diseconomy? What is a diseconomy? Ah, now, when you grow beyond a certain limit, managerial diseconomies such as communication between managers will become less. In the sense, everybody is specialized in their own aspect. There is no interconnection between the functions. Now, because of that, there is a diseconomy which occurs. Next, there is commercial economy and diseconomy. Commercial economy and diseconomy means what? See, if you buy in bulk, you will get discount. Yes or no? Correct. Now you are buying raw material, somebody is giving it to you at 10 rupees, but you're buying in tons together means he will give you what? He will give you discount. Now that is called as commercial economy. What is commercial diseconomy? Commercial diseconomy is what? When you are such big brand, you have to spend so much on advertisement. As well, when you're a small firm, you didn't have to spend 4 hoardings and little digital marketing was enough. But now open your cell phone and tell me how much advertising does Amazon do? Why? Because if they don't do, they lose the market. But as they grow, they have to spend more on advertising. That is commercial diseconomy. But as they grow, they will get product for raw material for cheaper. That is commercial economy. Please understand that. Next, financial economy and diseconomies. Example, if you go to bank and ask for a loan, they'll tell you 12%. You have to shut your mouth and come back. Yes or no? Correct? Why? Because bank will not change interest for you. You are taking 5 lakh, 6 lakh. But companies like Reliance, companies like Tata, they take thousands of crores. They can negotiate the interest. They'll say 12% and all you give to normal businessman. We need at 8%. You give or we'll go to other bank. They have negotiating power. Why? Because they have size. Yes or no? Correct? Now, please understand that, however, when your shareholders will ask you for more money, you will have to give them. That's all. Correct? So financial economy is what? You can get the interest at a cheaper rate. But diseconomy is what? The cost of raising finance will rise more than proportionately after optimum scale of production. This happens because the relatively greater dependence on external finance. If you are depending upon external finance too much, then cost of raising the capital will become costlier. Okay. Now that is financial economy and diseconomies. Next, there is a risk-bearing economy and diseconomy. What is a risk-bearing economy? If you take risk, you will make profit. Yes or no? Correct. You will make huge profit. And if you do not take risk, correct, sometimes the risk can backfire also. Correct. If you don't take risk and don't diversify your risk, instead of making profit, you might make huge losses. Now this is what all the internal economies and diseconomies. Now let us briefly discuss about external economies and diseconomies. Okay, external. External economies and diseconomies. Correct. First one, cheaper raw material and capital equipment. Cheap raw material. Correct. Now see, once you become a big player in the market, you will get everything for cheap because you have bargaining power, because you're buying in tons together. Yes or no? Correct. Now, the expansion of industry may result in exploration of new and cheaper sources of raw material. It's just like how the sunflower oil industry is there. No, earlier sunflowers were very costlier because farmers hardly used to, have that or cultivate it. But later, once the farmer came to know that there is a lot of money in it, everybody started planting it. Right? Same thing happened to vanilla also. Vanilla is done through that vanilla seeds, right? Like beans, you get it. Correct? No, the dried one. So earlier the rate was too much, but everybody started growing it, and after that rates came down. Right? Now you get it because you create a demand in the market, and everybody starts supplying to you. That because of that you'll get cheaper raw material. Next, there is technological external economy. Somebody found something, a cheaper way of doing things. Somebody found some solar technology through which you can cut your cost by 50% of electricity. Possible or no? Now many of the industries are like that only. They cut their so much of their electricity bill because they use solar. The Apple headquarters, 90% of their energy consumption of the day is through solar. Correct? You have to read about it. It's technological. They did not invent anything. It's not internal. Somebody else did it, solar technology, but they are reaping benefit out of it. Yes or no? Correct? Next, development of skilled labor. And this is one thing. Like if you are creating, for example, how the software engineers, how the trend of software engineers started in India after the IT boom. Every college started producing software engineers. Why? Because people wanted them. Right? So many jobs were available. Right? Now that is how you developed a skilled labor. Next, growth of ancillary industry. See, if you're a car company, car garages business will grow. Tire company, their business will grow. Yes or no? Correct. Seat cover, seat and all that alteration, that is their business will grow. So when you are having an industry, your ancillary industries we call them, they also boom. They also increase their business. Next, better transportation and marketing facilities will come. Correct. If you are making a lot of production, it has to be supplied to other places. You cannot get your own lorries. Somebody else will invest in that transportation sector, and they will also give you services. Then a lot of information technology, labor, prices, economies of information also you get when you're a big player in the market. Now, this is with regard to economies and diseconomies of scale, both internal as well as external. Now, with this, we finished the revising all the concepts of chapter 3. Now, let me just look at the chart if there are any questions. Sushma, with regard to MCQs, sir, can you please try to put the question in the app? I will answer that because I need to look at the MCQ. I do not have that particular material right now, but I will answer to you. Okay, please put it up. And there are no more questions over there. I believe that you are studying and keep the good efforts going, students, and definitely you will come out with flying colors. We'll meet again